Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast, and this week's podcast is sponsored by the Council on Aging. This is your co-host, John Alexander Reese.
And your co-host, Andria Carter.
And if you didn't know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African-American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. And today we have our special guests with us. We have Tiffany Kelly, administrator at the Kelly Youth Services. How you doing today, Tiffany?
I am great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And we also have the founder, CEO, and president of the Kelly Youth Services, Joe Kelly. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you guys having us on and allowing us to share a little small platform explaining what we do here at Kelly Service and what we have going on. So you appreciate the invite.
Yeah, no problem at all. Now, before we head into our main topic, we are going to get into some good old chocolate news topics. So, Andria, what is the chocolate news for this week?
Well, coming off of the Thanksgiving holiday, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving, got well rested, but unfortunately, Cincinnati entered the Thanksgiving holiday season with a few deaths of some local icons. The biggest one, well, I should say the first one, is Dr. Odell Owen. He has been a figure within the Cincinnati community for several decades. He was a fertility expert, then he became the coroner. He was a teacher when he became president of Cincinnati State Community College, and then became president of Interact for Health. And throughout all of that, he worked hard to help people, whether it's with fertility issues, then it's about teaching people and uplifting our young people out of disparity. He was a figure that was larger than life, very well loved by the Cincinnati community, and he was very frank and very tough talking to people, and he knew how to navigate the waters and get what he needed done. And so he's going to be very, very, very well missed. He is going to be buried this week. There will be a private funeral. No, I should say there will be a wake held on Friday, December 2nd for the public at Corinthian Baptist Church in Bond Hill off of Tennessee from 10 to 12. And then there will be a private funeral for the family. So it's a very troubling time, traumatic time for the family. So we just wish them well. Also, along with Odell dying, Kathy Wilson, who people would know her as the Negro tour guide, that column that was first appeared in City Beat, then later turned into a book, and then turned into a play. She was also a commentator for the National Public Radio, All Things Considered, for a minute. And she first wrote the play in 2007. And then recently she updated it, and Ensemble Theater just this year presented it with the updated version, which, it featured her wit, her style, her frankness, and her no hold bars. No one could hide from her and her wit and her truthfulness. So we're starting to see both of these icons go, and they would be very well missed. But in other news with the chocolate world, a very interesting thing happened yesterday in the World Cup. The United States beat Iran out of the blue. And, totally unexpected. In fact, they were the underdogs because we're never known to beat anybody or play well like that. And I mean, it was so exciting that there's a video on Instagram of President Joe Biden. He's attending an event in Michigan, and his deputy chief taps him on the shoulders and says, "We won." And next thing you know, Joe Biden is heading for the stage and the microphone and announces it to everybody. He said, "Can you believe it? We won. USA beat Iran." And everyone started going, "USA, USA," you know how we do.
Yeah.
So, national pride right now in the World Cup, because we got a shot of, at least being one of the finalists in the World Cups of whatever level this is. But, it's very exciting that soccer is very well liked amongst our young people in the country, and it's slowly coming, we now have a stadium built in Cincinnati, and we have a team, FC Cincinnati. So this is something to aspire to, that maybe one day Cincinnati will host the World Cup in our town, or at least a quarterfinal. So
Yeah, and also it's usually the U.S. women's soccer who gets all the attention. So it's kind of interesting that the men's soccer is kind of
you know
on
what,
people's
you
radar.
were right about that. The men's, you never hear about the men's soccer.
Yeah,
I mean, you have to admit they look great, and all soccer athletes look great in their uniforms. I'm going to say that right now. So, got to come out there. I like watching sports for a reason, like any man likes watching sports, the cheerleaders on the side. So, but, the fact that they're able to run for that entire period of playing soccer and moving the ball down the road, and the strategy and how they move the ball or kick the ball and get it back. And, it's just amazing how they operate that field to get that ball where they want it to go. And the teamwork that they showcase. I admire any soccer team because of the teamwork involved to move that ball and get it into the field goal. So congratulations, USA. Fantastic. We'll see what you do next as the World Cup contest continues.
yeah.
Next, Elon Musk. I don't know what he's doing with Twitter.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon. Well,
or does he pronounce it Elon Musk?
No, it's Elon Musk.
Okay.
I'm being mean. So I'm sorry, but I mean, he worries me. I mean, Twitter has been a fascinating product and everything else, and now it's turning into something I don't know what. And the latest twist is that he is going to no longer enforce the policy against the misinformation regarding COVID-19. And I think we saw this coming with he's allowing people who have been banned on Twitter before to come back on. I think this sort of shows who this man is, what he thinks of the world and where the world should be and go. And I think that's sort of sad that you want to allow misinformation to spread and have people believe this stuff when, your person's health is on the line, and COVID is nothing to mess with. I've been very lucky so far. I've gotten it once. I have all the vaccines, and I'm just, it really, truly, when it comes to health, I don't play.
Yeah.
And I think that there should be more, he should take more responsibility and make sure the truth is being told about the health, because he has the money to make sure that he gets very good health benefits, and to be able to allow other people to present information to deter people from trying something new to prevent something is just not good responsibility. It's not good business.
No.
And I mean, he has lost over half his advertising anyway. So obviously he's not doing something right. So hopefully he'll learn. I hope.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. And another interesting sports story, UC lost another football coach.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Lou Fickell, who helped build up the Bearcat sports team and the franchise to make it where it is today, left the UC Bearcat team and went to Wisconsin. Though he might regret his decision, because I read an article recently where he has to work hard to win over the students at Wisconsin because they're expecting somebody else and not him. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he does. And it's going to be very interesting to see who takes his place at UC. I know a number of names have been mentioned in speculation, even Deion Sanders, which is an offer from Colorado. And he announced that he won't make a decision until Saturday after the game. So we'll see what happens with Deion and what he may decide to do. But, Lou Fickell is gone from Bearcat Nation. So we'll see who's going to next lead the UC Bearcats to a winning victory.
Yeah, it should be. It should definitely be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. I mean, everything, the political world, the health world, the social media space, everyone is in turmoil right now with change. And I would say the the Congress has gone through change with the midterm elections, and the Democrats, with Nancy Pelosi stepping down, a few others stepping down from leadership positions, in a historical move, the Dems voted to elect Hakeem Jeffries to lead the House Dems next year, which is a first. But Nancy Pelosi opened the door for the next generation to lead and take on the establishment and to get some work done. And so Hakeem Jeffries is the minority whip next year. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does. He has won over people with, what he did with the impeachment process. He's won over people with getting legislation passed. He's very even-handed. He's very level-headed. And a lot of people admire him. Both sides of the aisle admire him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he keeps the Dems united while we watch the GOP and Kevin McCarthy. So it's a very, very interesting win overall. And that is our chocolate news for today.
Okay, thank you, Andrea, for that chocolate news. Always appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So today we have our main topic, which is the Kelly Youth Services, and I want to reintroduce Tiffany Kelly, who's the administrator at the Kelly Youth Services. Thank you, Tiffany, for coming on.
Thank you, John, again. Thanks for having us.
Yep. And I also want to thank Joe Kelly, founder, CEO, and president of the Kelly Youth Services, for also coming on. Thank you so much, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for having both of us on the show.
Of course. Now, first of all, I just want to ask, what is the Kelly Youth Services?
Well, Kelly Youth Services, after I finished playing in the NFL, former Cincinnati Bengal, amongst some other teams, played 11 years in the NFL, and there was a friend of mine that I played with on the Jets. We're both from Los Angeles, California, and one year when I was playing for the Raiders, he was working in a group home, and that sparked my interest. And then once I retired, I went and visited a friend out in California, and I sort of was mentored by someone out in Los Angeles that had group homes, and I came back and decided that's what I wanted to do. So just kind of started in the living room and went over some ideas, just natural fit. My family, my father, my uncle, both had youth organizations, and I was just, in my opinion, it's a natural fit. Just giving back and working with kids, and especially with this population. This is a tough population. We work with kids who are from 9 to 21 years of age, and kids that are taking it out of the home because of abuse, neglect, mental health issues, severe trauma, you name it. We have had it come through Kelly Youth Services. We have 5 facilities here locally in the Cincinnati area. Obviously, the facilities are separated. We have 2 boys facility, one's group home, one boys group home, ages 9 to 18, and then we have a boys semi-independent living facility, and those are our older boys, and they're usually from 16 to 21. And then we have 3 female facilities. We have a girls group home. We have a girls semi-independent living maternity facility as well. So here, we just try to do our part in the community, try to do our part with, helping kids that unfortunately were either raised in bad situations or are dealing with some, severe issues. So we that's what we've been doing it now. It'll be 25 years, Cinco de Mayo of 23. And we've actually touched over or admitted over 2,200 boys and girls that have come through our program. So, we just, the organization, we want to give back, want to help, kids become, viable, self-sufficient adults. here in the Cincinnati area.
Yeah, of course. So as you just mentioned, you said you're coming up on 25 years. Are you guys doing anything special for the anniversary?
Yeah, I'll let my wife take over that, Miss
Okay.
Tiffany.
Okay.
Yes, we actually are commemorating and celebrating our 25th year in operation next year with a silver soiree gala. We did the same or a similar event 5 years ago when we celebrated our 20th.
Right.
That one was more centered around honoring the people that had helped to start the organization and helped to build it to where it is today. Well, this one we are doing as a true fundraiser. So really hoping that we can get the community to come out and support our fundraiser. We haven't done a lot of fundraising over the years, believe it or not, as a 501c3, because we're licensed by the state of Ohio, but then contracted with all the surrounding counties. So that puts us financially in a position to operate and care for our kids, but it's still a lot of gaps, as a small nonprofit in our budget. So that's what we're going to try and do with this event is to, like I said, make this a true fundraiser.
Yeah, I got you. So like what are some of the events you guys do, to especially like to raise awareness of this youth service, or like what are some of the things you do for the kids, like any events and stuff?
We do an annual teen summit for our kids every year where we bring in a bunch of different professionals from all walks of life to kind of expose the kids to some of the different working industries that are out there in hopes of sparking their interest. We host that teen summit at one of the local hotels near one of the group homes, and we do that to kind of expose them to just being able to go and stay a night in a hotel, something that the majority of our kids have never done.
Right.
So we use the hotel site for the full event workshops. They have dinner there. They get to stay overnight and have their own room and swim. That's probably one of the largest events that we do for the kids throughout the year. But every year we have an annual holiday party for our kids.
Wow.
Adopt a kid or sponsor a kid around Christmas time. I'm happy to report this is the 5th year in a row that all of our kids have gotten sponsored for Christmas this year. So
wow.
That's
great.
that is one of the best things for me, that you see so many people contacting us and wanting to give back to our kids during the holiday season. So for many, many years leading up to us doing the annual sponsorship drive, Joe and I will be at the store shopping for anywhere from 35 to 45 kids, every year for Christmas. And so it's just amazing to see the amount of support that we get during the holidays. But we do everything that you do at home, or that we do at home for our kids. We do the same things for our kids within the group home. We're the village while they're placed with us. And so we want to make sure that in spite of the circumstances, they are still exposed to all of the things that every child deserves to be exposed to.
Let me ask you this. We're always hearing about the kids. What are some of the issues that the kids are facing that come to you that we need to be made aware of?
Well, I can, over 24 years, we've had just about every type of situation here. Kids who are physically abused, mentally abused, kids who have dual diagnosis, meaning that they have multiple mental health diagnosis, autism, ADHD, you name it. We've had kids who've been sexually trafficked. We've had kids who've had drug issues. We've had kids whose family has suffered homelessness. We've had kids whose families have been decimated, with the drug issues, you name it. We have pregnant teens. So at our organization, we pretty much take the entire gamut of kids. Some kids have been sexually abused. Some kids have been, unfortunately, have been put in a situation where they have sexually abused someone else. Not only, Tiffany talked about some of those annual things, but on a day, it's more or less what we do on a daily basis as opposed to those annual events. We have a full-time psychologist. Our kids, they are involved in individual therapy weekly. They do daily group sessions at each facility. We have 2 education coordinators who help and facilitate everything from every school meeting, IEP meetings, disciplinary meetings at school, as well as vocational opportunities. They assist them in that facet as well, and just staff that is there every day for those daily things. We think about just kids being raised in normal families and our home and the issues that they face. So you imagine our kids together with all these different diagnoses in this facility on a daily basis, what they have to deal with, and that's a shout out to everybody that has been a staff member here at Kelly Services that have worked tirelessly with our population. It's a tough population, and we with now being accredited organization. I'll let Tiffany expand on that. But just having a lot more highly qualified staff, that are able to deal with our population of kids that have suffered so much trauma and abuse. Tiffany, you want to expound on the accreditation and all that?
Sure. Over the last few years, Andrea and John, not only has our license been upgraded to be deemed a qualified residential treatment program, but we've also received full accreditation through Council on Accreditation. This as a result of a new law that was passed by President Trump when he was in office somewhere along the lines of 2018, called the Family First Prevention Services Act. Pretty much what that law was passed to do was to somewhat regulate funding around foster care. And really, I would say, weed out some of the bad seeds. So we were able to meet all the compliance regulations there, become accredited, and that has now positioned us to not only provide trauma-informed care to all the youth that we serve, but also to provide some behavioral and mental health services, some additional mental and behavioral health services to our kids. So we try to make Kelly Youth Services a one-stop shop for our kids. They're getting all the help that they need. We have all the staff in position to provide those services, and we're doing nothing from here but expanding so that we can provide services for more kids.
Do any of the kids ever come back and say thank you?
Man, Joe probably doesn't lose touch with, I would say, 50 to 60% of the kids that leave here. It's no different than when your kids grow up and they still need support and they still need help. That's what we are. Like we tell them when they're here, we're a part of their village and we'll continue to be a part of that village. That village is your family, whether that's blood or not. And so, yes, we absolutely do. We actually still have two clients living with us right now that have been emancipated, but still really don't have anywhere to go. So, since they are looking at us as their family, and that's what we've become, with them being placed with us, there's no way Joe's going to say they have to leave. So they're still living at one of our facilities. We're still helping to support them and still trying to get them in a position so that when they do leave, that they can be independent and self-sufficient.
Out of curiosity, how emotional is it for a child to be emancipated from their parent and have to, have that foundation to be able to take care of themselves, pay their bills, things like that? How much of the traumatic moment that for them because they're transitioning from one situation to another?
I think that you have to understand that trauma starts way before the emancipation. So when we're talking of them being emancipated, they're being actually emancipated from the custody and the care of Hamilton County or one of the local counties. So the trauma comes from them being separated. We have some kids that have been in the foster care system since they were 2 years old. We've had kids that have been raised in the foster care system, and our kids have been in foster homes, from foster homes to group homes, from group homes to residential centers, from residential centers back to group homes. We've had kids, a lot of, really public, really don't know the ins and out. You have kids that have been adopted by families and thrown back. So here you have families, they adopt a kid and, adopt this kid at 4 years old. And then at 13, they can't deal with the behaviors or some of the mental health issues they have. And they return them. Like you go to a department store, you return them to the county. So the county is now in charge of trying to find a foster home, a therapeutic foster home, a group home, or a residential center that is able to deal with that kid's specific needs. So that's why we try and provide all the different services that we have. Kids that are they go through the foster care group home system, and then that's where we have our semi-independent living facilities that come in place. So in our semi-independent living facilities, we teach them how to, catch the bus. We teach them how to cook, along with trying to make sure they stay on target with their school, help them, attain jobs. Have some kids that have, we have a kid that's in a welding program right now, and trying to, we try to see what their interest is, and whatever that interest is, whether or not it's I want to be an electrician, a barber, a beautician, whatever it is, we try and find, that fit for our kids. Unfortunately, you have to understand, just like in families, kids that they finish college, a lot of kids after they finish college, get their degree, they come home and they live with their families. Well, you have to understand the traumatic part is that most of our kids that are staying in the system long enough to be emancipated from the system, they don't have a family, a brother, a mother, a father, a cousin, an aunt, an uncle to go back and live with. So we try and prepare them. We try to teach them how to shop on a budget, how to fill out job applications, how to cook. And if they get in trouble, they get, in situations, point them to programs that can help them, with food, with housing, with jobs, and so on and so forth. So, you are in a position to try and teach them coping mechanisms to deal with the trauma and abuse that they've suffered coming into the system. And every case is different. Like I said, there are kids that have been raised in the system. There are kids in the system. We've had kids as long as 6 years, 7 years. We've had them as least as a weekend. So every kid is different. Every situation is different. And we try to, despite the level of care, if they're in a group home, that's more strict level of care than are in the semi-independent living, and they require more attention. So at each level, we try to teach them the proper skills in order to get ready for that day that they have to go to court and they say that you're emancipated, because the very next day you are totally on your own.
That is amazing to think that happens. But I mean, I remember when I first lived on my own and how difficult it was to get used to paying bills on time, being to work on time, being responsible for myself. So I can understand it's very, very difficult to make that transition and ease into it and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think some of our kids have children. Some of our girls have children. So that's even a bigger burden of being emancipated, being on your own with kids and trying to raise kids and work and finding proper daycare and so on and so forth. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge that we've been dealing with for 24, almost 25 years. I think we're up for the challenge, and I think we have put together a tremendous staff. We still have room to hire more, and we're looking for more qualified staff all the time. I think we have a great program, obviously, but it's challenging. You have financial challenges here and there. We have challenges because there's a lot of facilities. The kids can be pretty rough. You have to understand with kids with severe mental health issues and boys. We go through a lot of windows. Our vehicles. We get a lot of our windows in the van busted out with rocks, and because kids are behaviors escalate to a situation. That they've dealing with some of their trauma, so kids are harder, a lot harder on our facilities, and we have a full-time maintenance crew, but even that sometimes gets overloaded, and we get overburdened with trying to make sure that the facilities are kept in very. We just don't want decent facilities. We want our kids to come into a facility and live and sleep in a place no different than what we go home and where we sleep at, every day. So that's why we are gearing up for this gala, the 25th gala, in order to do a fundraiser for our facilities to make some much needed and updated improvements to our facilities.
Well, you have a tough challenge on you, but obviously you enjoy what you do. You can see it you hear it in your voice, and I see it in your face that it's a challenge that you love to do to help the kids. So.
Yeah, I if I wasn't, if I didn't have Kelly Youth Service, like I said, my wife and I met 20-something years ago. Every time I come home, and I come visit her, there's always some kids in my car, so she's kind of gotten used to that over the years, and but it is what it is. It's about giving back. It's about helping, and that's what our organization is. And we try and find like-minded people that want to join us on this journey of giving back. And like Tiff said, my phone is the same as my number is the same as it was in May 5th of 1998, and I get calls weekly, monthly, with some of our former kids, and we help some of our former kids. I've been asked to walk some of my former females and step in as their father when they are getting married. You name it, helping our kids with apartments and furniture and food and clothes. And here we live downtown, so we run into some of our kids, and can you, Mr. Joe, cash at me a couple of dollars and need some food, so on and so forth. So it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It's just not an organization. We are open 365, 7 days a week. We don't close. And kids that leave here, they call us 6, 7 years, 8, 9 years later, 10 years later, and they check in, and a lot of them just say thanks for even some of the kids that we unfortunately had to put out. They call back and just say thank you for the guidance and thank you for trying to help me out.
Wow. Well, that is a wonderful thing that you're doing, and I appreciate it. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I definitely applaud what you guys are doing. That's some very, very noble work. But one more question I had before we wrap this up. How can you get involved with Kelly Youth Services? If you want to volunteer or donate or whatever, what can you do?
I'll let my wife take care of that.
You can reach us on our website at kellyyouthservices.com. There's information on there about both how to volunteer as well as how to donate, as well as giving you all the information about our residential services, our behavior health, what we do in terms of academic enrichment for our youth while they're placed with us, as well as we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Kelly Youth Services is our handle on all of our social media sites.
Okay, and we'll make sure to put that info in the podcast description. I just want to thank you two for coming on and talking about your organization, and best of luck to you guys.
All
Thank
right.
you both.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. So that's it for today's show. Andria, I want to thank you for reading the chocolate news. Always appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And once again, I want to thank the Council on Aging for sponsoring this week's episode. And remember, you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes on www.thecincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, or on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. In addition, the Cincinnati Herald is now looking for news distribution and delivery agents. Please contact our publisher, Walter White, at 513-680-7076 for more information. I'm John Alexander Reese.
And I'm Andria Carter.
And have a good day.